The Galactic Council chamber thrummed with the low hum of translation fields and hushed disdain. Representatives from dozens of species filled the tiered amphitheater, their robes, armor, or carapaces reflecting the soft ambient glow of orbiting satellites. At the center of it all stood Counselor Vale of the Dravari, lean and sharp-eyed, addressing the assembly with the pride of a predator among prey. "They say the humans gave a warning," he said, allowing the smallest smirk to crawl across his mandibles. "And like most children who learn to crawl, they believe themselves dangerous because they haven't yet been crushed." Ripples of amusement spread through the chamber. A few cautious delegates remained silent, their eyes shifting toward the single unoccupied seat on the perimeter, Earth's. The humans had not sent a representative since the Volari incident 5 cycles ago. They had instead transmitted a short, cryptic message after the massacre of the Volari colony on Haroon 3. Just 10 words, untranslated by their own choice. "You get one warning. Harm them again, and there will be no survivors." No overt retaliation had followed. No declarations, no sanctions. And so the galaxy returned to business. But whispers lingered, about new signals along the outer rim, about fleets training in the dark. Vale continued, his voice rising. "The Volari are weak, sentimental, mind-bonded pacifists who hide behind prophecy and pitiful alliances. If humanity wants to make threats on their behalf, let them show their face. Or, better yet, let us give them something to actually grieve." In a lower quadrant of the chamber, Counselor Syrah of the Nyrene blinked slowly, her blue eyes unfocused. Her species was empathic. She felt it before the others saw it. A report flickered into Vale's databand, halting his speech mid-boast. "Priority strike report, Volari outpost Xi, 9 breached. Unconfirmed, civilian casualties exceed 1,200. Dravari Torque's operation successful." He looked up. There was silence now, heavy and electric. The room did not speak, but it listened. On the edge of council space, a small, gray relay satellite reactivated after years of silence. It rotated slowly, opening a dish long thought dead, and emitted a single pulse. The signal was short and identical to the one from years before. "That was your one warning. No name, no location, no visible fleet. Just the words." Captain Alira Voss stood at the edge of the command platform aboard the HSS Typhon, her silhouette framed by the panoramic display of the stars. From this angle, the sun glinted off the curvature of a gas giant, its massive shadows stretching like a god's fingerprint across space. Around the Typhon, ships fell into silent formation, sleek, obsidian crafts with no visible propulsion, no registry codes, and no mercy. "Fleet synchronization complete," said Lieutenant Kale from the left console. "All combat systems locked and mirrored to command core. Encryption stable. We're off-grid." Alira didn't reply immediately. Her eyes were fixed on the incoming data feed from the Volari Enclave. Names of the dead scrolled past. Some were children. Some had been scientists working on deep space terraforming. None had wielded weapons. She tapped the armrest once, activating a secure line to Earth Central. "Protocol Aegis is green," she said calmly. "Authorization, VOS 0 Theta. Confirmed violation. Engaging under Sovereign Defense Clause." On the screen, Earth Central responded with a silent flash of blue. The order was given. Retribution would no longer be theoretical. Across a distant moon known only as Tor Prime to its military inhabitants, alarms shattered the quiet dusk. The base's outer shields flickered violently, then vanished. Dravari command officers scrambled, unsure how the human strike fleet had bypassed 10 layers of encryption, planetary surveillance, and stealth detection. They weren't even supposed to know about Tor Prime. But they had come. Above the planet, a spear of light sliced through the clouds, followed by another and another. There were no warnings, no attempts at communication. Human ships moved like ghosts, untraceable between strikes, firing pulses of kinetic force, so precise they tore clean through shield generators without damaging nearby infrastructure. Weapons were obliterated. Ammunition depots vaporized. Not a single shot was fired at barracks or civilian quarters. Precision beyond any known standard. Restraint far beyond expectation. This was not war. This was a demonstration. Back on the Typhon, Alira received a calm burst from the Volari envoy vessel. The face of Advisor Thalen appeared, a translucent, wide-eyed being whose entire expression shimmered with grief and awe. "You answered," he said. We feared your warning had been for ceremony." Alira tilted her head slightly, her voice measured. "We don't give ceremonial warnings." He lowered his gaze. "They will strike again, when their pride returns." "They won't get the chance," she replied. In the Dravari throne hall, panic began to spread. Reports arrived every hour. Military satellites vanished. Stealth installations compromised. Defense contractors losing control of their AIs. Human infiltration? No. Not possible. The humans couldn't be everywhere. And yet they were. In one instance, a Dravari ship surrendered without combat, its crew abandoning their posts when the ship's internal systems began broadcasting human lullabies on loop, music they had never heard before, but which made them weep uncontrollably. For the first time, the Council understood. The warning hadn't been a threat. It had been a mercy. Alira watched the stars again. Her fingers hovered over the next set of commands. Missions queued. Systems ready. Behind her, Kale asked quietly, "Captain, should we alert the Council that retaliation has concluded?" She didn't turn. "No." "Why not?" Alira's voice was a whisper, not from fear, but from certainty. "Because it hasn't." The stars drifted slowly across the viewport, cold and indifferent to the fire brewing beneath them. Captain Alira Voss stood motionless at the helm of the HSS Typhon, surrounded by the quiet hum of the most advanced warship Earth had ever built. Around her, the bridge crew worked in perfect silence. There was no need for orders now. Everything had been planned down to the heartbeat. On her display, 3 more Torx Dominion outposts lit up in red. Confirmed targets. Civilian scans clear. The AI handled the micro-calculations, but Alira reviewed every shot personally. If they were going to end empires, they would do it without staining their hands in unnecessary blood. That was the burden of humanity's warning. It was never vengeance. It was balance. "Reactor alignment complete," Lieutenant Kale murmured from behind her. "Orbital rail ready in 30 seconds. Alira nodded once. "Hold fire until the mark. Let them feel the silence." The Typhon floated just outside the Torque's defensive ring, invisible, inaudible, and deadly. Around her, the rest of the strike fleet formed a precise shell, each ship like a note in a symphony, waiting for the downbeat. Alira exhaled slowly. Mark. Space cracked open. From above, kinetic lances rained down like the judgment of gods. Each strike punched through hardened alloy and shield with surgical precision, disabling command nodes, weapon silos, and sensor arrays in under 12 seconds. Human ships didn't scream into combat. They arrived, struck, and vanished, their presence felt only in the wake of devastation. From orbit, the Torque's command center had seconds to realize what was happening. They attempted to launch escape pods. The Typhon intercepted them all with magnetized stasis fields. No deaths. No escape. No misunderstanding. The message was not subtle. Across the galactic net, rumors exploded. No one had ever seen the Torque's retreat. Now, entire squadrons were abandoning their posts, defecting to neutral territories. In a matter of days, human forces had dismantled decades of militaristic infrastructure without declaring war. And still, Earth said nothing. Counselor Vale sat alone in his private war chamber, his talons clicking against the Blackstone table. Every intelligence report made less sense than the last. His analysts could not trace the origin of the human attacks. Their ships seemed to fold space in impossible ways. Their weapons defied calibration. Even their data packets dissolved seconds after interception. But what disturbed him most was the reports from his surviving officers. They saved us. His jaws clenched at the memory. They disabled every weapon, yes. But they didn't kill us. They landed, stabilized our wounded, and left rations. Even gave us instructions on how to restore power. It wasn't war. It was punishment, deliberate, disciplined, and utterly unanswerable. On the Typhon, Alira sat alone in her private chamber, reviewing the last transmission from Earth Central. She expected either outrage or caution. Instead, she received a single phrase: continue at discretion. Parameters unchanged. She tapped the console and summoned a rotating map of the galaxy. Red clusters indicated hostile networks. Blue marked friendly territories. But what drew her attention was the growing circle of gray nations, species, and factions withdrawing from the Council, declaring neutrality. Many of them had once mocked the Volari. Now, they requested protection. Kale entered without a word. He handed her a datapad. We intercepted a message. Not directed at us. Coded in Old Volari dialect. Looks like a distress call. She read it in silence. Then again. Then closed her eyes. It's a trap, she said softly. Obvious one. Kale agreed. Doesn't matter. She stood. They're trying to bait us into a mistake. We don't make mistakes. The mission launched within the hour. A smaller detachment peeled away from the main fleet and jumped through uncharted lanes. Within minutes, they reached the coordinates of the alleged distress beacon. Nothing. Then, dozens of heat signatures flared. Ships emerged from the shadow of a dead moon, Dravari assassins, Torque skirmishers, automated drones, and hybrid tech of unknown origin. They'd built a kill zone. Alira smiled grimly. They thought this would be the end of the humans. They had no idea it was just the beginning. From a dormant rock nearby, a hidden module bloomed to life. Human stealth tech. A ghost carrier. The HSS Echelon emerged like a blade from mist, its hull distorting space as it powered up. Within seconds, the trap became a grave. The Echelon didn't fire conventional weapons. It emitted waves, pulses designed to overload sensors, blind targeting systems, and induce nausea in organic pilots. Within moments, enemy formations scattered. Confused. Vulnerable. Then the Typhon arrived. Alira didn't smile. She simply gave the order. Stun net. Disarm everything. No survivors. She meant no casualties. Not death. Not here. The net pulsed outward, enveloping the attackers. Ships froze. Engines died. Pilots screamed over comms for mercy. And they received it. The Volari rescue ship entered last, guided by human navigators. The survivors were collected, treated, and released. Back on the Council's inner world, a new broadcast reached every delegate. This time, it wasn't a warning. It was evidence. Footage of the trap. Data from scans. Audio of enemy captains admitting they'd been ordered to provoke Earth into retaliation that could be spun as warmongering. It failed. The Typhon systems had recorded every word, every hostile act. Humanity released it all. Unedited. Raw. The truth was unassailable. Humanity was not hunting. They were responding. The Council's chambers fell into silence once more. Delegates looked to one another not in argument, but in fear. They saw what the Dravari could not. That Earth's silence had not meant weakness. It had meant resolve. And now, every world knew. There would be no more warnings. The Earth embassy on Volari Prime was modest by human standards, no high towers, no gleaming metal spires, just a single, low structure carved into the planet's luminous crystal cliffs. It radiated a quiet strength, blending into the terrain like it belonged there, rather than imposing itself upon it. For Alira Voss, it was a rare moment of stillness, the first since the Retribution campaign began. But stillness, she knew, didn't mean peace. She stood at the edge of a circular balcony overlooking the soft silver glow of Volari Gardens. The blossoms shimmered with neural biolight, their petals reacting subtly to her presence. Below, Volari children played without guards, their laughter echoing through the crystalline valley. For them, the terror had passed. For Alira, it was only contained. Behind her, Advisor Thalen stepped quietly into the room, his voice a mere resonance in the air. We did not ask you to stay. I know, Elira replied, not turning. But I did. You brought the stars to war, Thalen said, more contemplative than accusatory, and ended it before it could consume the innocent. They'll recover, she said. Your people, I mean, given time. Thalen tilted his head. Do you think your own will? Her silence stretched long. Then she turned to face him. Humanity doesn't recover. Not in the same way. We adapt. We remember. We learn. But we don't return to what we were. That sounds like evolution, he said gently. No, she answered. That sounds like consequence. The room's console lit up with a soft chime. A secure message from Earth Central. Elira didn't need to read it to know what it was. The mission parameters had shifted. Kale's voice echoed from the hallway. Captain, they're calling a full council summit. Emergency session. Expected, she muttered. Is the Typhon secure? Systems green. Crew prepped. We can leave in 15. Elira turned to Thalen. You should stay planetside. What's coming won't be diplomatic. The Volari bowed his head. Neither was what passed. Yet you still chose mercy. She gave a faint nod, then strode past him toward the exit. The shadows of war had moved again. She would meet them, as always, at the front. Within hours, the Typhon descended upon Council Prime with no fanfare, no warning, and no escort. It bypassed orbital clearance, disabled local weapon tracking with a simple command ping, and landed in the central plaza before anyone had time to object. Security forces surrounded the ship instantly, but none dared approach. When the ramp lowered and Elira stepped into view, alone, unarmed, and wearing a neutral envoy's coat, the crowd drew a collective breath. She walked forward like a verdict. Around her, whispers rippled. She entered the Grand Council chamber uninvited. Delegates rose in alarm, some demanding she be removed, others watching in silence. At the head of the chamber, Councillor Vale stood, fury tight in his jaw. You have no jurisdiction here, he spat. I have no need for it, Elira said, her voice cutting clean through the noise. I'm not here to negotiate. Vale stepped down from the dais, towering over her. Then what? A final threat? Will you burn us next for our thoughts? No, she said calmly. Just your lies. She lifted a small device and activated it. Holographic projections burst to life above the chamber. Recordings of intercepted transmissions, confessionals from captured Torx generals, Dravari officers detailing covert orders to ignite war under the veil of proxy conflict. Every detail aligned with the truth humanity had released days earlier. There was no denying it now. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Elira let it breathe for a moment before speaking again. You weaponized peace. You counted on our restraint, our compassion, and mistook it for hesitation. You thought we'd let you bleed the galaxy one ally at a time. She turned slowly, letting every delegate meet her eyes. That ends now. Councillor Sira of the Nyrene stood slowly. What are you proposing? Nothing, Elira said. This isn't a proposal. It's a statement. From this moment forward, Earth withdraws from the Council. We recognize no authority that protects aggressors through process and hides genocide behind bureaucracy. A wave of murmurs swept the room, but she continued. We will not govern the galaxy. We do not want your territory, your tribute, or your titles. We want only this. She activated the device once more. A new message appeared in every language simultaneously, hovering in the air like scripture. Harm our allies again, and we will unmake you. Completely. Vale hissed, but she didn't flinch. You don't get to define peace anymore, she said to him. You broke that privilege. He stepped closer, voice low. You think fear will hold the Council together? No, Elira replied. I think truth will. Fear just ensures you don't bury it again. With that, she turned and walked out. The chamber didn't stop her. As the Typhon lifted into orbit once more, Kale watched the receding world through the viewport. You think they'll listen? He asked. Elira's expression remained unreadable. They're not meant to. Then who? She looked toward the stars, where countless civilizations had gone silent, watching and waiting. The ones who've suffered in silence, she said. The ones who think no one will stand with them. They're listening. Kale leaned back. So what now? Now, Elira said, a hard calm in her voice, we do what humanity's always done. He frowned. Which is? She faced him, eyes sharp with resolve. We wait for someone to try us again. And when they did, she knew there would be no warning left to give.